As at the last count, 9 commissioners in the state government have thrown in the towel on the heels of the rising political tension in the state. The floodgate of resignation was opened by former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Zacchaeus Adongo, whose resignation letter was dated November 14, 2023. Others include the Commissioner for Special Duties, Emeka Ezewuike, and Commissioner of Finance, Isaac Kamalu, Commissioner for Works, Judge Kelly Alabo, the Social Welfare and Rehabilitation Commissioner, Inime Aguma. To further discuss this, we're joined by political analyst Alabo Odey. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, 11 resignation in 24 hours. I don't know how we will look at it. Before we talk about the why of the resignation, how, in your view, will this impact governance in the short term?
Well, nothing really bad has happened. You rightly used the word in the short term. It's not going to affect governance. This is because commissioners are the prerogative of the governor of the state. They are like the handmaidens of the governor for implementation of government policies. However, we have a state that is properly constituted. We have the MDAs, we have the ministries with their permanent secretaries who are there to advise the governor on policies. Now, the fact that these governors have, commissioners have resigned has not rendered the governor impotent or helpless. That's because the governor has the right to replace them. And I believe that in the very shortest possible time, you're going to also hear that these people who are resigning have been replaced by competent hands to assist the governor pilot the affairs of governance.
How soon do you expect this to happen? The replacement, how soon do you expect it to happen? A matter of days or weeks?
I'm not the spokesperson of the government. It's still, like I said, it's the prerogative of the governor of the state. He can decide to replace them immediately. Thankfully, he has a state house of assembly that is ready and willing to screen whoever he nominates for any position as commissioner in Rivers State.
It is not a question whether the resignations are political, because political watchers believe it is political. The question is, to what end, what kind of political statement is being made with this resignation, in your mind?
Well, I think that politically, I think that it's a game of survival. You know, the immediate past governor, His Excellency Ezewuike, was talking about, he used the word structure. And when he used the word structure, I'm very sure that this is what he referred to. And most of the people who are in this government, who this present administration had to work with, were all political appointees of the immediate past governor. So all those who are resigning now were basically the political allies and cronies. And in fact, let me just say that the members of the political family of the immediate past governor of Rivers State. So, well, maybe for political expediency, even though most of the resignation letters we read doesn't really tell us exactly the underlying reasons why they are leaving. Some of them say for personal reasons, some of them say ideological reasons, some of them say personal reasons and principles and all that. That really doesn't explain much as to why they are resigning. So as far as I'm concerned, we leave it at that. If there is no...
Well, let's then focus. They've resigned, like you said. They quoted all kinds of reasons, which is interesting. If anything has to do with ideology, one would really question it if one of them says they resigned as a result of ideology. But that aside, let's look at the efforts to restore some semblance of calm in Rivers State. A former governor who hasn't spoken in a long while and is quite old has come up to Rufus Sada George He spoke about how other governors can, former governors can come together and see what they can do to help resolve the crisis. Do you think the involvement of former governors would make any impact in the crisis that we see going on there?
Well, for me, I don't see any crisis. If you ask me as a person, I don't see any crisis.
Why? I mean, if you say there is no crisis, the assembly complex was demolished.
Hold on.
Members, okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Why I say there is no crisis is that you cannot compel anybody to work with anybody. These people who are resigning have their personal reasons. It's well within their rights to resign.
No, but I'm not. This is the situation is more than the resignation. There is a political tension in Rivers State, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. The resignation, most political watchers believe, has to do with the face-off between two political figures. And now you have a former governor in the state who hasn't spoken in a long time coming up to say what is going on is unnecessary for the people and wants dialogue. If you say there is no crisis, then how do we solve the problem?
Like I said, all this started when there was an attempt to impeach the present governor. So much was said about the reasons for his the attempted impeachment. And this thing continued until it snowballed into the resignation of the defection of 27 members of the State House of Assembly. Matters went to court. Court has given their decision on some of the matters so far, restraining those 27 lawmakers from sitting and parading themselves as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. The new speaker has been sworn in, and he has taken charge of the State Assembly, and has also declared those 27 seats vacant in line with provisions, extant provisions of the Constitution, particularly Section 109, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. So I don't see anything unusual that is happening in Rivers State. Everything that is happening has remedies, has constitutional solutions. If there are any underlying political issues behind it, I believe that those ones will be taken care of by the politicians. But so far, so good. There is nothing unusual that is happening in Rivers State that has not happened before in this state and in other states.
You sound so calm. I feel like I'm being overly anxious in worrying about what is going on in the state. What are the people saying? We've had some youths come up to say tension needs to be doused in the state. But because you say you don't see any crisis, I wonder, what would you say to these young people who are worried that the climate does not encourage investment and growth when, you say in this area, we say the big fish is fighting?
Well, let me tell you that the budget has been passed. The 2024 budget has been passed. So investors have nothing to fear. There is money for those who are going to participate in building the new River State. So there's no need for anybody to be afraid. Nothing unusual, like I said, nothing unusual is happening that has not happened before. Don't forget, during the early stages of the immediate past administration, we had similar scenario where you had, then he was the Minister of State for Education, who had the ears of the president then, and then you had an Amici who had just decamped from PDP.
So have we had a situation, pending when INEC comes up to talk about the 27 members of the State Assembly that have resigned, if there's going to be another election or whatever it is they are going to do, are you comfortable with the state legislature being manned by, say, 5-6 persons for any duration of time? Do you think that shows representation for the people? Because in order for balance to happen, the people have to feel like they're represented. So do you think the people will feel represented in such a House of Assembly?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We have faith in the present House of Assembly as presently constituted and led by Edison here. This is because those who defected from their sponsoring party, the PDP, knew that there are constitutional consequences for their defection, which is that they lose their seats. You know, so the Constitution did not make it mandatory that every member of the House of Assembly who was voted into power must be present during the plenary before the business of state can be conducted. There is no such provision in the Constitution. If you remember, in the last dispensation, when Bukola Saraki was elected, you know, all the members of the Senate were not present on the day he was elected. You remember that day that most of them were absent. They were attending a function with the president when plenary was ongoing, and Bukola Saraki of the PDP emerged as the Senate president. So the Constitution did not make it mandatory that every member of the legislature must be present during plenary. Instances could be that maybe some are dead, like in Rivers State, we know one has died, and the process of his replacement was already ongoing before these 27 members defected, thus vacating their seats. Now, for the remaining 5 who are available and ready and willing to work with the governor, I'm sure that they are protected by the Constitution, and everything that they have done receives constitutional approval and sanctions, and their laws remain binding and enforceable within Rivers State.
On a scale of, say, 10 to 100, do you think a majority of people share your sentiment that all is well with the state and are comfortable with the way things are currently being run?
Like I said, I think it's just about orientation and awareness, and thank you for this platform you've given to us so that we'll be able to speak to our people to remain calm. All right, there is nothing unusual. There's no need for tension. Everything that is happening now has a place in the Constitution, and there is really no crisis that the Constitution has not addressed. I've just told you now that the fact that you have 5 members of the House of Assembly piloting the affairs of legislation in the state does not in any way belittle or denigrate the activities of governance or reduce the effect and the import of governance in Rivers State. Okay, if you remember, it happened in Edo State. I think
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this conversation, Alabo, but thank you very much for speaking with us.
It's always my pleasure.